Hey, it's Rath's Real Estate Resource, and I'm here to help you buy a house. Can't have these on. There's not one really good tutorial, or there's not one really good article illustrating alright, the steps to buying a house, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because every real estate deal is different. Some cities have point of sale inspection, like Lakewood. If you buy a house in Rocky River, there's no point of sale inspection. But I wanted to just kind of generally go over the process that every real estate deal hits on. So if you saw my past video in the summer, one of my first ones was what's the first step in buying a house? And that is the pre-approval, and that's still very true. I didn't want to go too much into the pre-approval today, but what I did want to say about that is you don't necessarily have to go to that bank that you got the pre-approval letter from. So just keep that in mind. The next step would be house hunting and shopping for a mortgage. It's not necessarily like shopping for a bank. I don't want to get that confused. More so like, how much money do you want to put down on a house? Know how much your closing costs are going to be. What type of loan do you want to go with? When I say shop, I mean that, because when your offer gets accepted, that's what we're digging into. The next step after getting it accepted, get your inspections, formally apply for your mortgage. Now's the time where you're going to sit down with your chosen lender and formally apply for that mortgage. That's the real deal. That part of the process is a lot going on, because you're trying to figure out oh, do I like this house? Do I want to buy this house? And I'm asking you about financing. Your lender's asking you about financing. I'm trying to go over this stuff, which is awesome if you haven't done any of this yet that you're watching this, because it all happens at once. I say, okay, now you got to go get your inspection. Now you got to go back to the bank and formally apply for your mortgage. Now do you want a radon inspection? All that stuff. So there's a lot that happens right there, but as we progress, it kind of gets less and less. Now is the time where your loan is going to go to underwriting. And what the underwriter does is essentially, I don't want to say poke holes in your story, but it's kind of what they do. They want to make sure that you're going to be able to pay that loan back. They also want to make sure that the house is worth what you say it is. Because essentially, going to get a mortgage is like going to them saying hey, I want 200 grand to buy this house. They say, okay, no problem. What if you don't pay us back? Say, well, you take the house then. That's where the appraisal comes in, and that would be the next step. The underwriter is going to order an appraisal on the house to make sure it's worth what you're saying it's worth. And that's because if you stop paying, they're left with the house. That's their collateral. So if you pay 200 grand for that house, they're going to make sure that that house is worth 200 grand, just in case you stop paying and they take the house from you. So that's the appraisal. After the appraisal, then we move on to closing, and the title company is going to jump into the mix. They're going to be contacting you. They put together this fat stack of documents that you're going to sign on your closing day. And closing day, you would think, would be the end, but it's not. At least in Northeast Ohio, it's not. In other markets, when you sign the final paperwork, bring your money to the table, you get the keys. Not Northeast Ohio. Typically, it happens the next day. I want to say 97% of the time it happens the next day. So that closing day, you sit down, you bring your closing costs, you bring your down payment, seller brings their closing costs, all the paperwork's together from buyer and seller, everybody signs. That's signing day, we'll call it closing. Then transfer day happens, and that's when you get the keys.